You're holding a grocery receipt at the kitchen counter, and the headline says inflation fell. The receipt in your hand says, not here. That contradiction is today's money move. The CPI number can be true and still miss the bill that just hit your card. The missing piece isn't whether June CPI was real, it's which part of your budget that one monthly number actually described. Let's follow Maya, a project manager, as she decides whether to loosen her July budget after hearing prices finally cooled. Her gas tank looks better, her grocery cart does not. Her rent renewal is sitting in an envelope completely unimpressed. BLS reported CPIU fell 0.4% in June 2026, while prices were still up 3.5% from a year earlier. So start here. Lower inflation is not the same as every price falling. Sometimes one volatile category does the heavy lifting. Haas. The big mover was energy. BLS said energy fell 5.7% in June and gasoline dropped 9.7%. That matters because gasoline reprices like fresh produce, not like rent. You feel it fast, but it can reverse fast too. Bucket 1 is pump now, fuel, commute choices, and mileage-heavy errands. Check actual local prices before spending any supposed savings. EIA's July 21 update showed regular gasoline at 4.0101 per gallon for July 20, up from the prior week. Translation: Maya may see relief at the pump this week, but she should not rebuild the whole budget around one gasoline month. Food did not fall with the headline. BLS reported food at home, and food away from home each rose 0.2%. That is why the grocery receipt refuses to celebrate. A cheaper fill-up does not make cereal, chicken, or lunch cheaper. Bucket 2 is cart slow, groceries and restaurant meals. Consider judging those with several receipts, not one national headline. One approach: compare the same 10 items across 2 or 3 trips. If the basket stays higher, adjust the food line. Shelter barely moved compared with gasoline. BLS said shelter rose 0.1%, rent rose 0.1%, and owner's equivalent rent rose 0.2%. Rent is not gasoline. You do not swipe a lease every morning and discover a new price before breakfast. BLS says sampled rent units are collected every 6 months, and many rents change infrequently because leases lock terms in place. Bucket 3 is contract lag, rent, insurance, subscriptions, and many medical bills. One CPI report usually does not change them immediately. BLS consumer expenditures data put average 2024 household spending at $78,535 tier, with housing taking 33.4% of the total. That is the budget reality. A gasoline drop can feel good, but housing is usually the elephant sitting on the spreadsheet. BLS also warns CPI is an average urban consumer basket, not any one household's exact personal inflation rate. If you drive little but rent in an expensive city, June's CPI decline may feel smaller than it sounds on television. So, map the number to your life. Ask, which costs change this week, this month, and only at renewal? As of July 24th, BLS listed June 2026 as the latest CPI release, so no newer CPI report had replaced it. The stakes are practical. Misreading one headline can make you under-budget food, overtrust gas relief, or expect rent relief too soon. Consider starting with cash flow, not commentary. What actually left your account since the CPI month ended? For 7 days, track gasoline, groceries, and recurring bills separately. Do not average them together until you see their timing. Maya starts with fuel because that is where June's relief showed up first and where the reversal risk is highest. Quietly. Here is the first reveal. June's headline decline was mostly a gasoline story, not a full-budget victory lap. BLS said energy was the largest contributor to the monthly all-items decrease, with gasoline doing most of that work. That does not make the relief fake. It makes it narrow. Narrow relief is useful only when you budget it narrowly. If commuting is a major cost, consider moving gas savings into a buffer, not lifestyle spending, until weekly prices confirm direction. Then Maya walks into the grocery store. Her fuel savings are real, but the cart still carries its own inflation clock. Food at home rose 0.2% in June and 2.7% over 12 months, according to the same BLS release. For groceries, consider using a same-store basket. Inflation hides when you compare discount pasta one week to premium snacks the next. Keep 2 comparable receipts in an envelope. If staples keep rising, trim elsewhere before assuming the CPI drop rescued groceries. Shelter is next. Maya's landlord is not reacting to a 1-month gasoline decline. The lease has its own calendar. In June, rent of primary residence rose 0.1% and owner's equivalent rent rose 0.2%, far less dramatically than gasoline. Your lease sets the cash flow schedule. Market rent trends may matter, but your payment usually changes when the contract says so. At renewal, consider asking for concessions, comparing market listings, or negotiating timing. Before then, budget the bill you actually owe. Insurance, utilities, and medical bills behave more like shelter than gasoline. They often move by contract, regulation, or billing cycle. For those lines, one approach is a renewal folder. Put each due date, provider, and expected change in one review place. Consumer expenditures data show transportation was 17.0% of 2024 spending, while food was 12.9%. Gasoline alone averaged $2,411. That is why category size matters. A small change in housing can outweigh a big percentage move in a smaller fuel line. Pump Now relief is fast because fuel markets trade constantly, stations compete locally, and drivers see the price before buying. For Pump Now, consider batching errands, comparing nearby stations, or shifting non-essential driving if fuel rebounds quickly in your area. Cart Slow relief is messier because stores change promotions, package sizes, and categories unevenly. Your basket can lag the index. For Cart Slow, consider separating staples from treats. If staples rise, that is budget pressure. If treats rise, that is choice pressure. Size. And then there are bills that barely listen to one CPI report at all: rent, insurance, tuition, and fixed subscriptions. Do not cancel your buffer just because headline CPI fell. Consider keeping contract lag money untouched until the actual bill resets. BLS says households with spending above average in fast-rising categories can experience inflation above the headline rate. Who should not use the headline shortcut? Anyone with a long commute, pending lease renewal, medical costs, or region-specific price pressure. Another objection is fair. If inflation fell, why are prices still high? Because disinflation often means slower increases, not price cuts. June's all-items CPI was still 3.5% higher than a year earlier, even though the month-to-month reading declined. For paycheck planning, consider treating the June decline as a clue, not permission. The question is where your next dollar goes. Build 3 columns in your budget: Pump Now, Cart Slow, and Contract Lag. Then place each expense where it actually behaves. Column 1 gets gasoline, commute costs, and flexible driving. It is the fastest to feel relief and the fastest to disappoint. Column 2 gets groceries and dining out. It needs receipts, repetition, and patience before you declare a trend. Column 3 gets rent, insurance, tuition, utilities, and subscriptions. These are renewal cycle costs, not headline reaction costs. Set thresholds. If fuel saves less than your grocery increase, do not raise discretionary spending just because the headline looks friendly. If gas savings exceed grocery increases for several weeks, consider moving the difference to debt payoff, savings, or a seasonal bill buffer. If groceries rise for 2 comparable trips, consider adjusting meal plans before cutting retirement contributions or emergency savings. If this budget map helps, a quick like or subscribe tells us to keep translating headlines into decisions you can actually use. Now zoom out. Maya does not need to forecast the economy. She needs to stop asking one number to answer every bill. BLS scheduled the July 2026 TPI release for August 12 at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, giving the next official checkpoint. Firmly, use releases as checkpoints, not commands. Historically, volatile categories can swing before households feel broad relief. Here is the checklist. Check gas weekly, Compare grocery receipts over several trips and review every renewal before spending assumed relief. This is not financial advice. This content is for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. Maya's outcome is simple. She keeps the fuel savings visible, the grocery line realistic, and the lease money untouched. That is the payoff. The CPI line moved, but your bills move at different speeds. Budget for the speed, not the headline. Inflation fell, but your grocery bill didn't have to. Tomorrow, we'll separate another market signal from what it means for your wallet.